Hey guys, Rick Shaw back at you. It's the still the 29th, but something's been going on here. My wife calls it a moo song. I guess that means wildcat, but we have a cat here. I saw it over there on the other side of the wall, down by that little river area, and it's kind of like a bobcat is what it looks like. It's big. I mean, it's not. This is definitely not a house cat. These things are monstrous. Now the dude over here, I didn't see it, but he said he saw two of them cross right over there. So hopefully not a breeding pair, but they said that's why a lot of the cats around here have disappeared, because he thinks they're eating them. So that's pretty. That's pretty freaky. I hope we don't have trouble with these dang things. They make like a scream. It almost sounds like a young girl screaming or something when they howl over there. I don't know if that's a breeding thing. When Wes was here last night, I was telling him about that, and he was, they're around. So I don't know if anybody else has seen them. I got to see them one time, and then the construction guy seen them crossing the road there. My wife's seen it, so they're out and about. They're hiding in this grass now, this dang grass that grows up so long. You look over here, look how long that grass is over there, and that's where they're cruising up more this way, so they can hide in there and pounce on something. I'm not letting the kids, when we walk, get any distance from me. I keep telling them, you can't go far ahead of me, even on the bikes, because if these cats think something's running from them, they're gonna attack it. I don't know if they'll go after kids or not, but I'm definitely not liking these things. Sure would be nice to have a good old nylon 66 right about now, and I think I would take care of that. But it just reminded me, I was thinking too of another thing when I had a nylon 66. I know when I was living in the Midwest, a lot of states you couldn't hunt with them, because they don't like semi-automatic. But I had this one. It was given to me from an uncle, and I sent out to Iowa. I had a friend that he lived over by us. He was a dairy farmer, and
open.
Okay, hang on. Let me get that. Get Dorothy to open it for right now. I got one hand on the camera. Okay, I can't open it with one hand. Let me try. Okay, now you can open it the rest of the way. Okay, buddy. my little beautiful handsome doll. But he was telling me that the fellow was selling squirrel dogs, and he trains them. It was a relation of his, and so okay, cool. And so I got in contact with the guy, and that's what he was doing. He was raising squirrel dogs, and I said, I'd like to have one, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot. And he sent the dang thing, sent it to me. He says, I'll send it to you. And you give me the price. I think at the time it was $450, which wasn't bad for a hunting dog. And he says, if you don't like it, send them back, and I'll send you your money back. You'll just be out to shipping. And he says, I'll pay the shipping out. It just cost me the $450 to my door. So I'm okay. So I got the thing, and he said its name was Jack. He said it was about a year and a half old, and I looked at it, and I was saying, yeah, it's about a year and a half. The teeth were beautiful, cleaned. It was in great shape. And he was a little terrier. Weighed about maybe 8 pounds. I never weighed him, but I'd say 8 pounds. And it was so funny when he would stand there, little tiny feet. When he would stand there, sometimes his back legs would come off the ground because he was barrel-chested, and then he had no back end to him. But this little son of a gun, first time I took him out, guy said when you get a squirrel, you got to give him the heart or he won't hunt, and that was the truth. So took him out, and he would, even though it was leafy, I learned a long time ago, when you're hunting in the woods, you got to sound like an animal. You can't try to sneak. You got to just shuffle your feet like a squirrel for just a little bit and then stop. I always stopped by trees or something, go tree to tree. Well, this little dog would pitter patter. You barely heard him. He sounded like raindrops running, and he would run around. He didn't sniff them. He looked for them, and when he saw them, he would just freeze up. You had to keep your eye on him. He never went too far from you in the woods. He always kept you in sight. So he was trained very well. And when he'd see one, he'd just look at it. And when you said get him, that was his little keyword. He would start barking at him, and of course the squirrel would run to the other side of the tree, and then he'd freeze again. And then when he's seen your gun ready, he'd watch you. He'd go back and forth looking at the squirrel and you. And when he'd seen you pulling that gun up, he'd run around to the other side of the tree and just make a heck of a racket. And that squirrel, what it would do, it would run around to your side of the tree, and you'd pop him in the head. And and I took many a squirrel with that little dog. We named him Jack Hoff when I did his tags and stuff like that. Great little dog. And then I had him for a couple years, and then one of my best buddies, his son was really just one to love it. And I would let him borrow it, but they were pretty far away. It was about 7 miles away. Kid didn't have a car or truck, so I just give it to him. And he had that dog up until he died. He wound up going to college out west, and but he had that dog up until that dog died. I think he was probably about 12, 13 years old by the time that's how long we had him anyway. But that was something I was thinking about. I still think a lot about hunting, and seeing them cats. I sure would like to hunt them. I would definitely like to hunt them. I don't want something like that around here. I hope they do something with this grass. I know with the rainy season, there's not much they can do. It's just been too wet. I just saw a weather thing. It wasn't the Westpac WX, but it was one of these local news things. I had it on YouTube, and they said this is going to last into first week or so of August is what they were thinking. Now I see up around the Olympics they're going to be getting really stormed on again. Here there's been a lot of flooding. Not our area. We don't really have flooding. I didn't see any in town. Here it seems like it drains even when it rains real hard. There's not a whole lot of standing water around here because the folks in these towns, you don't see garbage all around. It's something I have not noticed here compared to when we lived in GMA. And even, when I was talking to Tim, he was saying, yeah, the sewers get clogged up and stuff, and that's why it floods. But when I was in his area, in Tondo, I didn't really see a lot of garbage or dog poop around. You go back and look at my Tondo videos. I didn't think it was too bad at all. You hear people, they're scared of the place, and it's a bad place and all that, but I met super nice people. I mean, it's not like I'm going to go into somebody's house and go drinking with people I don't know or anything like that, because there can be trouble when you do stuff like that. I would recommend any expat coming here if you do like to drink or something. I wouldn't be going out and drinking with a lot of folks, especially if you don't know them. If it's family or something, we were just talking Coco here. He's going to be getting off here, probably Sunday or so, and we were going to sit around, probably have a beer or so, something like that. And some of the construction guys, we know them, and they're no trouble. They're good guys. So just be careful if you come here and you decide you want to drink. Make sure it's with people you know, and watch out. Stay out of the politics. Don't diss Manny. So just take it like that. But that's just stuff I was thinking of today. It's kind of chilly right now. Let me get up and see what the temperature is out here. Okay, it's 26, and the humidity's sitting dead on 60 right now. So, but it cleared up a little bit. We had rain spitting on and off all day. You can see the roads wet, and it was spitting on and off. Didn't get the bikes out. The kids wanted to ride, but I don't really want to ride in that. The boys weren't really working, doing a lot of stuff. They were just mainly tying in rebar and doing that kind of stuff. No concrete work. This house over here just is total standstill. They haven't done anything today at all. But they got another one over there where the boys' shack is that they're gonna get started on. They just put the tarpaulin up. We saw the exterminators coming and spraying the bases before they put the floor in over here on these houses. We didn't get that done. We just been dropping the borax and stuff like that and watching out for them. I just don't like the idea of a real deadly chemical like that. Now, when we lived in GMA, when I was putting the concrete pad in for our driveway, I got a bunch of old jeepney oil, and I dumped that. I dumped that all down around under the concrete. We're close to the house, went all around the house and dumped that in. And I'll tell you what, that took care of the termites, because we had them. We had termites over there, and they weren't. That wasn't a good thing. We had up in our roof, down on the bottoms, that was chewed out. I wish I could find orange oil here. That's stuff that works really good. I had termites when I was in California, and I had put orange oil all around the place, and that takes care of them. They don't want nothing to do with that. But I haven't found it here yet. Even when I looked on Lazada and stuff like that, couldn't find it. I also had, when I lived in the Midwest, I had termites in the house I was buying, and when I was buying this place, they wanted this huge amount to eradicate these termites, and we just went down and got a bunch of used motor oil. There was a tree that they had cut down, and it had rotted. All the roots were there, and that's where they were coming from. That's where they crawled through the ground and was entering the corner of the house. And I dumped about a gallon or so of used motor oil down there. I thinned it up pretty good with a little bit of kerosene and dumped it down there in that hole, and kind of where that was rotted. And that took care of them. The track in the house completely stopped. I didn't want to put oil, on the up around the foundation, because you get a fire. They'll say arson, But it took care of them. It finished them. I did spray orange oil on the inside all around. That place, it had a bad fungus problem in the basement because it was stone. It was a set stone foundation. It wasn't block or anything. So I had gone in there and pressure washed the whole inside, and then I filled the pressure washer with bleach after I cleaned up all the stuff, cleaned off all the fungus and everything. And I hit that with bleach straight. We made myself a plastic helmet with a vacuum cleaner blowing air in there so I wouldn't get asphyxiated, and I just soaked that whole thing down. Actually a pump sprayer with that, and even the wood down on the floor joists and stuff. And that pretty much took care of it. And then I put a venting fan in there. We had a heater down there. We were using gravity heat, and I needed, because it was a natural gas heater down there, I needed to draw in cold air, because you get carbon monoxide buildup, and the oxygen will go down. So I had myself I believe it was a 2-inch fan. I just made a hole in between. They actually had block because it was stone on the back half, and where they put the addition on the front and back, they did it with cement block. So I cored a hole through there, and I put myself a fan, and then over by the other end I had an intake, because I had sealed the basement windows up real good. Everything was sealed up good on there, so that way we had fresh air coming in and nothing. I wish they had natural gas here, but they'll never do the infrastructures on stuff. It's like the electricity here that goes out. We were in Carmona. We never had a problem with the power going out, but here in Lipa, it's been out twice already since we've been here for 12 hours. And the second time it went out, they never notified us. They just shut it off. And then we heard later from Tatai. He said, "Oh, it'll be coming on at 6." And sure enough, it came back on at 6. And then Wes was saying they're doing a lot of work over on that end, over where he's at. And so, if they're doing work, I worked high voltage for a long time, and never did we ever have anybody shut off for 12 hours. You get all your work done, you get it all ready to do your connection, and you shut it off for the connection, period, end of story. So I don't know why, it's different here. The electricity here is totally different. If you look at my meter here, if you look at it, there's no ground rod, there's no neutral. You've got your 2 Huths coming in. They didn't come off the transformer and bring me a neutral. From the transformer ground, I don't even see one over there. So, I'm not really understanding this system at all. Even in the States, when you got like a 220, you still got a ground. You may not have a neutral, but you got a ground. And this is foreign to me. So I've been trying to look online and read up about it. You never hear of people getting nailed or anything like that. We do have a breaker panel. I always thought fuses were a lot quicker to blow than a breaker, but like I say, you don't hear of too much trouble with people getting electrocuted or anything. We did have a thing on the stove, not the fridge, but if you touch the stove, you got a little tiny zap. So I tied it over to the fridge where I got a ground. Where they give you a little earth ground thing you can put in there. So I just tied it in with that, and that ended that problem. We don't get that little tingle zap off the stove anymore. It gives it a place to go. But I don't get this. Where's the neutral? And I looked at the stove. I couldn't see anything that was bared. There was no wire. It would have tripped the breaker if it did hit anything. But the stove was up on plastic feet, so there wouldn't be. I guess that wouldn't be a ground. And it had no wires for chassis ground or anything, and so things are done different here. If you come here and you're an electrician, it's like, wow, it's very different. You're really gonna be surprised. I still would love to put a ground rod, but they never sent me neutral from the transformer. So, and you get your ground and neutral from the same spot, but you send your neutral, and that gives you a pathway back. But, like I say, this is different. And the water lines, there's no grounding of any water lines, because the only thing that's metal is what's coming in, and then from the meter on all the way through here is all plastic pipe. So we're still looking to get a pump in here so I can take a shower. It was cold here the other morning. We keep the fans on to make sure there's no bugs or anything, and it was pretty cold in here. And I woke up a little bit before 4, and I thought, okay, I'm going to take a hot shower. There should be water. Nothing. You turned the faucet on. I took all my clothes off for nothing because it was just dripping out of the spigot. And even down here, I wanted to get the dishwater ready, just making breakfast and just have it ready to start cleaning everything up. And that took forever to fill up the sink, and it wasn't enough pressure to turn the Insta-Hot on. That's got to have a certain amount of flow, otherwise it just clicks off. You'll hear it click on and then click off, and it starts going around with this little thinking thing on the screen that's on it, and it's like, man, this is something that's a real bummer. If I'd have known this was going to be like this, I'd have looked elsewhere to live. To me, it's just, that was my big dream. I tabooed for years, and then when we were living over at the other house, I actually had a shower, which was really cool, but no hot water. So it was like my dream. Man, we're going to move into a new house, and I just assumed. Don't assume anything here. I was just talking to one of the owners down there. I says, hey, they didn't make any changes. They're just taking the house as the way it's built. But I said, you're down here, you need to keep watching them. Watch them and look. Now, they got the good crew on this place. But I told them just keep an eye on these folks, because if you do decide to make a change, like I was telling him, I did this and did that and he goes, oh, you can do that? Yeah, you can. They didn't tell him they could make changes. He says, oh, and then I showed him our cabinets, how we did, and he was like, oh, this is really cool. I didn't think we could do any of that stuff. I said, yeah, they didn't tell us. I could have pushed the kitchen wall all the way out to our little fence thing here, and then I could have had the bigger kitchen, and then where the window is back there in our little dining area, I could have just had a door put on there and left that like a laundry area. They never told us we could have done all that stuff. We could have had the porch here built right in when they were building the place. Did they tell us that? No. That's one thing with Demeter land that they should be saying. I thought, well, maybe because they were afraid to talk to me because I was a foreigner or something like that. But these guys down here are Filipinos, and they didn't get any of that information. He didn't know a dang thing about it. He said, man, I'd love to have done that. And it would have been nice to have a kitchen that had counters on both sides and cabinets, because space here is at a premium. I mean, we're just looking at a thing for under the TV. It's not real deep. I didn't want something real deep, but it had 3 drawers in it, and it's got 2 doors on the bottom, or 3 doors on the bottom to put stuff. And that's going to be good for storage. We're going to have that for certain places. I'm trying to teach these kids everything's got its own certain place to go, and if you put it back, then you'll find it again. Like Maddie, he'll take the clippers, and then instead of putting them back in a little case, he'll set them down somewhere, and then you can't find them. I don't care where they're sitting. If they're not where they're supposed to be, how are you going to go get them? So they're learning. I mean, it's something we have to. It has to be taught, and they're doing pretty good on picking up for stuff. Like even Dorothy was walking through, and the water thing was sitting right on the edge of the table. And the other day I walked by, and just from swinging my arms, I knocked one over, so I had to clean it up. Well, there was one sitting there again today, and she walked by and saw it and pushed it back on the table so you wouldn't knock it over again. So they're getting it. You have to teach your little ones everything. They're doing the schooling. Now, we're still trying to see about getting Mumu in. My wife goes down there and talks to the girl, but, I want to get him in there also, just to get him started, but Dorothy's doing some reading, and Maddie was doing really good. All his papers are coming back good. Now, some of Dorothy's stuff was coming back where she had wrong answers and the girl marked it correct. So I circled that, wrote her a big note. Look, hey, this is you can't do that. She had on her. They said there was none wrong. 8 for 8 on doing her clock. And when I went to check it, she had 7 of them wrong. And and I'm like, what's up with this girl? What are you teaching this kid? So. So that was something. That's just something we're working on. I still would like to get something. I would love to get him in a private school somewhere here, but I'm not going to pay for a stupid private school that we got to work over an internet. To me, that's just ridiculous. If we're going to do it over the internet, why do I have to pay anybody? Why do I have to pay anybody? We'll just do it ourselves. So, what's going on here with this? I don't know. It just seems to me that the more people fall in line with all the stuff that they're doing here, the more they're going to do it. I think the entire world needs to just wake up and say enough's enough. I see little excerpts in places in Europe and England and even Australia where the people are, saying, hey, forget it. And then one good thing I saw in France where these people, they didn't want them protesting, and they had heads knocking, stuff going on, and the cops just took their helmets off and set them down and said, no, we've had enough too. We have had enough too. And they took their masks off and stuff. It was pretty cool to watch something like that. So they're not all jackbooted thugs, but that can happen. You start giving these people power. I just put a video up on the Facebook about some cops. They went to arrest a guy because they said he was had a warrant on him, and the guy said, well, I don't got a warrant, and they pistol whipped him, beat his face all to heck. Now those guys are on felony charges, these cops. And the other cops that came around stood there and watched. They let it happen. I'd been a cop there, and these guys are, hey, you hold it, put him in the cuffs and leave him alone. You're not judge, jury, and executioner. If you think he's got a warrant, then you ID him and you take him in. You don't beat the crap out of the guy, even if he is resisting. There was 3 cops there. How are you going to resist 3 cops? They had him on the ground. Why didn't they just pull his arms behind him and be done with it? No, they had to pistol whip the guy. And then when they were talking to him, they weren't trying to put him in cuffs. They had to watch the video. Go on my Facebook and watch that video. So just more things I'm thinking of, guys, and I'm going to go ahead and let you go. It's just a nice day. This is some super cool weather we're having right now. I'll bet you by the time it gets dark, you're going to need a jacket, like a windbreaker or something. It's a nice breeze going on. The air seems clean. And somebody did send me, before I go, somebody did send me a thing that said, with this COVID going on, don't you have anything nice to say about it? And I'm going to tell you something that I noticed that is good. The pollution since this thing's been going on is a lot less than it was, I guess, because there's not as many jeepneys and you don't see as many of the little tricycles, the old 40-year-old Yamahas where the guys put used motor oil into the gas for their two-stroke. I remember this thing. After I had it for 7 or 8 months, I had to get some polish and clean the diesel grit off the windshield. I had to just, like Bon Mi soap. It was pretty much like Bon Mi soap. It's got the grit pumice in it. And I gently rubbed that on there with a Scotch-Brite, real gentle. And I cleaned you could just see how it was coming off. It was coming off in little spots. I took my time, and then I cleaned it and waxed it up again. But I don't have that now. You can run your hand. That's smooth as glass. The wipers are clear and everything good. I need to get that thing cleaned up. I'm just waiting until the rains, the rains are done. So I'm gonna let you go, guys, and just some things I had on my mind. I figure I'd make another video, and y'all take care and don't forget to pray for each other. Rick Shaw out.